Headlines are full of developer layoffs. AI is writing code, and now entire startups are being built without a single line of code. Might sound dramatic, maybe even exaggerated, but it isn't. It's already happening at scale and across industries. And by the end of the video, you might realize it's not the end of developers. It might actually be the beginning of something better. Founders, creators, even solo entrepreneurs are launching full-blown products using tools like Webflow, Airtable, and ChatGPT, obviously. And these aren't weekend projects, they're real businesses. The gatekeeping that once was a computer science degree, back-end knowledge, or months and months of dev time is now vanishing. What used to take a team of engineers, a project manager, and half a year can now be done by one sharp builder in 5 days. Here's a real-life example. A founder, which happens to be a really good friend of mine, built an entire HR platform using Software, Airtable, Zapier, and Supabase. It handles onboarding, sends out automated mails, manages equipment, even schedules performance reviews. And the crazy part is that it only took 5 days. You might ask, what about the company buying it? Well, the reality is they don't care that it is no code. They only care that it works. And that's a shift. We are no longer judged on how a software is made, but we're actually judged on if it solves something. This shift isn't just a startup trend. Major companies are bringing the mindset into their workflows. Satya Nadella, for example, the CEO of Microsoft, recently said that over 30% of their code is now generated by AI. And you have also other companies like Stripe that roll out pre-built UI components that developers can drop with almost zero setup. Tools once seen as niche like Zapier or Airtable are becoming widely used in enterprise stacks. Now think about what that actually means. Businesses no longer have to scale their engineering teams in sync with product ambition. A product manager, a designer, and a savvy generalist with the right tool can now produce 80% of what used to take an entire team. And this isn't just about speed, it's about access. Marketers can automate lead flows, sales team can build CRMs, designer can launch a full app in a couple of days, and all that without ever pinging a developer. Creation is no longer gated by a computer science degree. The monopoly is just breaking. And so this brings the big questions. If these tools are replacing entire teams, what happens to developers? What happens to newcomers trying to get a foot in the door building apps, software, or dashboards? So that's what we'll tackle now. Because if you still view software development as siloed, specialized skill sets, you might already be behind. No-code is one of the most misunderstood ideas in tech. A lot of people still think it's just a drag-and-drop templates or oversimplifying tools for beginners. But today, no-code platforms are way past that. You can now build multi-user web apps, create complex logic, manage live databases, and plug it into any modern API with no traditional coding required. So take, for example, Webflow, which is a tool I actually love using. It started as a tool that helped designers avoid HTML, but now it's a full CMS and logic builder used by agencies that deliver sites to Fortune 500 companies. Or take Bubble. It lets you build entire SaaS products completely with backend workflows and plugin systems. The key here is abstraction. These tools strip away low-level code, but not capability. You're not writing a loop, you're designing a visual flow of logic. It's not less powerful, it's just a different way of thinking. And in many cases, it's faster, more resilient, and more consistent because the tool handles the edge cases for you. Now, take all this and layer AI on top of it. With tools like ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot, or Claude, or whatever, we're entering a new era, prompt-driven development. You don't start by writing code, you start by describing the feature, the goal, the outcome, and the AI begins building it for you. It can scaffold functions, write boilerplate, generate unit tests, even help debugging code it hasn't written. And this shift isn't just empowering developers. A copywriter can use AI to generate personalized landing pages. A product manager can build a live dashboard with Retool and GPT. A non-technical founder can create a working MVP in days just by feeding the right prompts into ChatGPT, then wiring it all together with other tools. But these tools, at least for now, are not perfect. They make mistakes, the code they generate can be brittle, they still need oversight. But here's the thing, they're improving really, really fast. GPT-3 felt like magic. GPT-4, way smarter and more contextual. And GPT-5 is on the verge of being released. It will most likely blow away the two previous models. Each version shortens the gap between a human idea and a working product. And once again, this brings up the question that everybody is thinking. If AI and no-code tools can now handle the task that used to define junior and mid-level developer roles, then what's the role of a developer today? If anyone can build, where do developers bring unique value? The answer is not in typing faster, it's not in thinking better. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. Because to understand the future of dev work, we need to break down what's already disappearing and what's becoming irreplaceable. To understand the future of software development, we need to look at which parts of a developer role are already, slowly, and sometimes silently being automated. Let's start with the most obvious. Repetitive, low-complexity work, the kind that used to fill most junior developer roles. Form validations, dashboards, login systems, Stripe integrations. These were once the learn-to-build, get-paid start kit. Today they are gone. And not because we don't need them, but because they're pre-built, automated, or outsourced to platforms. You don't build your own login system anymore, you just drop in Firebase. You don't code your own contact form, you embed Typeform or use Webflow, connect it to make and push data to a CRM. You don't build a review component anymore, you paste a script or buy a widget. A few years ago, connecting front-end to back-end meant setting up databases, APIs, deployments, different works. But now you can turn a spreadsheet into a full mobile app with Glide. You can build a client platform using software. It's not just faster, in many cases it's actually better. So what does all this mean for developers? The learning ladder has been ripped apart at the bottom. Junior devs are no longer being asked to do the things they were hired just 5 years ago. Companies aren't staffing out basic features. They're using pre-built tools or skipping dev entirely. And that has massive implications, because when you remove the grunt work, you remove a training ground. That hands-on experience that were projects, real bugs, real architecture, that's where developers used to learn. And now it's vanishing. So the ladder is gone, but the top of a tree, it still expects experience. And meanwhile, the work that remains is everything AI and no-code still struggles with. Edge cases, architecture, scalability, performance, system resilience, and many more. These aren't tasks you can automate. They require judgment, they require experience. You don't want an AI deciding how your app should scale under load. You want someone who's seen systems break and knows where to look. Again, at least for now. Security is another area where automation still falls short. Sure, AI can write secure code, but it doesn't think like an attacker. Again, not yet. Real-world hacks often exploit weird combination of user behavior, business logic, and third-party integration quirks. Only a human brain spots these connections in time. And there is other areas like product thinking, knowing what to build and where to build it, and how to make it feel intuitive without bloating the user experience. So yes, AI and no-code are cutting out the base, but they're also elevating the ceiling. Great developers aren't being replaced. They're just being freed up to focus on what actually matters. So if writing basic code isn't enough anymore, what does it actually mean to be a developer in 2025 and beyond? The truth is the developer role is evolving. from code producer to system architect and creative integrator. That shift might sound subtle, but it's transformative. You're no longer just building features. You're connecting platforms, managing logic, interpreting messy user needs, and stitching together smart solutions from modular, intelligent components. And so in some way, in this new world, it's not about how many languages you know, but it's about knowing when not to code. You need to recognize which pieces can be offloaded to Airtable or Make, which ones need custom APIs, and how to connect them without breaking everything at scale. That's the skill set, and that's the edge. And to give you a little idea, let's go over the different traits of a modern developer. Tool fluency almost beats language fluency today. It used to sound impressive to say, I know 6 different programming languages, but now what matters is I know how to ship. And that means knowing when to use certain tools, when to use Airtable as a backend, when to use Make for automations, or how do you wire your Stripe into Pipedream. Second, debugging is now cross-platform. So now you're not just fixing bugs in your code, you're fixing logic that spans 5 tools, 3 APIs, and an AI model that might hallucinate outputs. You can think of it as old school skills, where you're reading logs, tracing inputs, testing weird edge cases, and actually they're more valuable than ever. Then communication is critical. Developers used to be able to hide in silos, now they have to be translators between business goals and technical reality. And speed is the new scale. The best developers aren't the ones who write the most complex code, they're the ones that write code faster and iterate quickly. Being strategic means knowing when to use MVP-grade tools and when to go full production. And sometimes that means building a prototype in just 24 hours using ChatGPT just to validate an idea. Creativity and judgment might be your best tools. AI can remix and autocomplete, but it can't understand your users, your business, or your unique constraints. Your ability to connect tools, see gaps, and make the right call, well, that's irreplaceable, at least for now. So let's bring everything together. Developers aren't disappearing, they are transforming. That old image, someone hunched over a keyboard, cranking out thousands of lines of codes, that's not the future. Today, most effective developers are part strategist, part architect, part creative, part problem solver, and yes, still part coder. And no, that does not mean that future developers are vibe coders. They will still need the sharpness and the forward thinking they always had. So if you're learning to code right now, the real question isn't what languages do I know or which languages do I learn further. It's what can I build, how fast, and how reliably. So before anything, master the fundamentals. Start with Python or JavaScript, maybe C. Learn how everything works in the background, how loops function, how functions function, APIs, data types, and how the whole ecosystem is built. But actually don't stop there. Once you got the logic, just start building. Use ChatGPT to scaffold projects, use Make to wire tools together, deploy with Vercel or Netfly, for example. But try to build something useful quickly, even if it's messy, because this building logic will actually make you better understand how the whole infrastructure works. So yeah, don't wait for the perfect project, just I don't know, build a tracker, build a flight alert system, build a landing page with a weird idea. Because by doing that, you'll learn more by debugging one broken zap rather than watching 3 more tutorials. Then keep using AI, but don't trust it blindly. ChatGPT is powerful, but it guesses, and for us it looks like it's hallucinating. Use it as an assistant, not a senior dev. Test what it gives you and understand what it writes. That's how you'll grow. The next step is to think like a builder, not a line-to-line coder. Your job isn't to write code for the sake of it, your job is to make things work. And sometimes that means no code at all, just smart wiring. That's not cheating, that's just modern engineering. And then focus on a timeless skill. Tools will change, AI will evolve, but thinking logically, communicating clearly, debugging when stuff breaks, that's your long-term advantage. That's your asset and your edge. Because In the end, even if AI writes every line of code, you're still the one that tells it what to build. You decide what matters. You see the nuances, the experience, the long-term vision. And for now, that's not replaceable. That's actually where your value lives. So no, you're not obsolete, you're just evolving. And if you embrace these tools, learn how to use them wisely, and stay focused on solving real problems. You're not behind the curve, you're ahead of it. You're not just a coder. You're a builder, a creator, a system thinker in a world that needs exactly that. And to finish, if you're building in that direction, then subscribe. This channel is where we're going to learn how to lead in this new era. We're not just watching the future unfold, we're actually shaping it.